Hi, it's MarVeena Meek, and today we're going to talk about how Halloween was originated. A long time ago, this was a Celtic New Year. The New Year was on November 1st, and so the Celts, they were very superstitious people, and at the time, they had just finished their harvest, and so there was a lot of worry and a lot of fear about being able to get through the winter because at that time you couldn't go to the grocery store. If you didn't have enough crops laid in to get you through the winter, then you're going to be really hungry by the time the spring came along. So they had a lot of fear about getting through the winter, and they being superstitious, but also being very close to the earth and the tides and the moons and everything, they knew that this time of year that the spirits there was like a natural crack between the world that allowed them to maybe see impressions of their ancestors that had died, and they didn't really like that. They had a lot of fear about that. They were worried that they might like come and get them, or that it wasn't just healthy. In other words, they were very superstitious, and so one of the things that they would do in order to keep the spirits away is they would light big bonfires, and they would also bake special treats, and they would put them outside the door, and sometimes they would even like light fires away from their house. And this was their way of trying to encourage their spirits to go back to their natural resting place and away from them. And at the same time, they would dress themselves up like goblins and ghosts and witches, and this was their way of trying to trick the spirits from the other world into thinking that they're just another ghost, so they're not going to gobble me up if I'm a goblin too. So it's just kind of their way of fooling the spirit world into thinking that they're one of them. So, like I said, they were working with what they had, and they were really superstitious. They did a lot of divination at this time of year. The Druids were the priests that were sort of like their holy leaders and their teachers, and they would perform divination, and they would even do have the wise women that were around and different tarot readers. They would do divination and mainly what they were interested in is if they were going to survive the winter, and it was really popular to know who you were going to marry, and so a lot of our customs at this time of year were about divination to see how you would prosper and if you would make it through the new year, and if you were going to get married or how many kids you were going to have, all of this sorts of things. And so that's one of the reasons that reading cards and doing all sorts of seances and circles and mediumship and that sorts of thing are very popular this time of year. It's a very ancient old custom. One of the customs that they had is to peel an apple, like to take an apple and peel it all in one peel, and then they would throw it over their shoulder, and the peel would fall on the floor, and they would sort of divine the letter that it most looked like, and supposedly then that letter was going to be the first letter in your future husband or your future wife's name. So that's one of the popular ones. The Romans also, they brought in the custom of a lot of things to do with the apples too, because they celebrated and worshiped the goddess Pomona, and apples were sacred to Pomona. And so they did a lot of different things with apples. They would put apples on their hearth over their fireplace and serve a lot of dishes that you used apples in, like apple pies and apple cobblers. And then they did the apple bobbing. That's one of the ways that we got that custom of bobbing for apples. So a lot of the traditions were overlapped. So, like as you had Christianity became more popular, then they would try to kind of overlay the Christian customs over the Celtic customs and the more pagan customs. And one of them was All Saints Day. So All Saints Day is November 1st, and it was called All Hallows Day. And so since October 31st was the night before, it became known as All Hallows Eve. And it's widely celebrated all over the world, not just here in the United States. In Mexico, they have a lot of different customs this time of year. One of them is to actually go and visit the cemeteries, and they'll decorate the cemeteries. They'll put a lot of beautiful lights and flowers, especially marigolds are very popular. And if say one of their loved ones, particularly, oh, pardon my phone there, if one of their loved ones really liked, say, an apple pie or something, then they would bake that and bring that to the cemetery. And they would sometimes like have a picnic like on the grave there, and they would wear like colorful costumes and have music and fiestas. The Dia de Muerta, I think is how you say it. And I actually have one of the little skulls right back here on my altar. And this is another custom, is the altar of the dead. And the altar of the dead is, I'm going to talk about that in another video. But the altar of the dead is just a way to bring in different pictures and photographs that you have of family and even pets that might have crossed over. And traditionally, it's in the last year, but I put photographs of loved ones that, just whoever I have. I put that on my altar. I have some little tea candles, and I decorate it, and you can put some fall flowers. And this is just a way, like every time you go by there, it's like you remember your grandparents, you remember, special loved ones, and it's just a way of honoring their memory. So I hope you've enjoyed this video article on the Halloween customs, and I'm just like a kid this time of year. It's one of my favorite times to celebrate my family, my loved ones, and what I do for a living, doing mediumship. I feel very close to our ancestors anyhow. So I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have any questions, send me an email. I'd love to hear from you. And you're welcome to purchase a tarot reading or a mediumship reading. This time of year, it's like the best time. And of course, I do it year round, but it's like this is the time to honor your ancestors. So check out my website if you'd like to purchase a ticket to my mediumship gallery or my All Hallows Eve seance, October 30th. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.